Hot flashes, irritability, intimate dryness, even unsatisfying sex. Hi, I'm Dr. Alyssa Dweck, a board-certified OBGYN who has spent over 20 years helping women just like you safely find relief from these very natural symptoms without having to resort to hormones. To help my patients feel their best, I recommend products from Bonafide Health. Bonafide is a women's health company dedicated to providing women with non-hormonal and clinically validated products that work. Bonafide provides safe and effective solutions to manage a range of menopausal, sexual health, and PMS-related symptoms. That's why I recommend Bonafide products to my patients every day. In fact, I am also a Bonafide medical advisor. What I like most is that Bonafide products provide women real relief without compromise. Ladies, don't waste another minute feeling less than your best. Go to hellobonafide.com and use code radio39 to save 20%. That's hellobonafide.com and code radio39.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Offer valid on subscription only.
If your friends haven't told you, McDonald's Spicy Chicken McNuggets are back. The ones made with spicy tempura and aged cayenne. But before you go telling friends, make sure you get them first. Order ahead on the McDonald's app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
For a limited time at participating McDonald's.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
Everyone shouts about how fast their broadband is.
We're fast, mega fast, stupid fast, almost too fast.
But what do they say about reliability? Well, Dublin, with Virgin Media, you get both. Ireland's fastest broadband network and 99.9% network reliability. Reliability at speed. See virginmedia.ie.
Terms and conditions apply. Ireland's fastest broadband network as awarded by Ookla. Network reliability. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented number 281. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich. And I'm leaving.
And no, you can't leave yet.
I'm doing my
We've
best
got too much to talk about.
Oh, so wait, no, what? I got 3 minutes, then I leave, right?
No, you're already storming out of here.
Yeah.
I can already tell this isn't going to go well.
It's nothing personal. I can't resist a good storm off.
Yeah. Oh.
There is so much that I want to talk about this week. The news has been packed to the gills, and half of it has frankly just been ridiculous. I mean, did you see Trump's notes that he brought out to, I don't even know what you call a press conference these days, but every once in a while it just pops up somewhere outside the White House.
I'm sure they were the best notes ever, and no one has the research that he does.
And, it's what's written on there is kind of insane because it's the shit that he says all the time. Like, if you don't have your own shtick memorized by now, 2 years into you doing the same act over and over again. But yeah, one of the more amusing parts of it was his spelling of accomplishments or accomplishments. He spelled it ACH. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Well, the CH does make the hard C sound in certain situations. Well, in his mind, it was right.
Yeah, I guess if you've never read a book, so you have an opportunity to see it written down somewhere.
Read a book, took a phonics class.
Or obviously
spelling.
Like he must not even read any articles about himself then. He just has them read to him. Because the word accomplishments or accomplish or something like that would probably pop up often in the article. One of many of the articles that have been written about Trump and his accomplishments over the decades. I'm rewatching Northern Exposure, by the way. I'm on season 3. I think his name has popped up in every season so far.
Trump's?
Yeah. Because Joel is from New York. So when he wants to talk about, guys with money, he he refers to Trump.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just saying, he's everywhere.
It just shows how long he's been in the public consciousness. That show started 30 years ago, didn't it?
Yeah. 92. What's that?
Oh, okay, not quite 30.
Depending on part of the 90s, that's 2 to 3 wives ago. That could be Marla Maples.
Oh, yeah.
That could be Ivanka.
It's probably mid-divorce Ivanka about to marry Marla.
Ivanka.
That's who he wants to marry now.
That's it. Edna K makes it weird.
There was also Ben Carson in front of the he was in front of the House Financial Services Committee, and he was asked by Katie Porter from California about the meaning of the acronym REO, which I wouldn't know, but then again, I haven't been appointed Housing and Urban Development Secretary, so but apparently this is I guess it stands for real estate.
They say if I'm in charge of HUD, I'm going to go out on a limb and go with the RE means real estate, and maybe maybe we'll Google for the O.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I would. I would have to guess what the O is. He didn't know. He eventually did say real estate, but then she asked him what the O stands for, and he didn't know. But when she first said it, she says, "Do you know what an REO is?" And he said, "An Oreo."
No, that's you, Mr. Carson.
Oh, he's like, I got to get all racist on me. I test this committee line of question.
He flips out and he goes all Clarence Thomas. This is a high-tech lynching. I will not stand for this. I'm surprised he didn't go, I'm sorry, I don't listen to classic rock that white people make.
Right. Yeah. Like the Speedwagon?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like the Speedwagon.
Is it? I'll take Riding the Storm out for 200, Alex.
So, yeah, only the best, right? Only the best.
Well, he's... But
these are just mere distractions.
If you need neurosurgery, he might be one of the best to go to.
I'm starting to doubt that, by the way.
But if
that guy poking around in my brain.
I'm just saying, man, sometimes, maybe he's got a touch of the autism or something, he's like really good at one thing. He's just not so good at others. I don't know.
When it comes to highly specialized things like that, you really only have to look at that specific track record. How's his track record with people surviving and having good experiences with him operating on them?
And I mean,
that's it. I don't care what a doctor does outside of the operating room.
Well, I don't know if I'd be wanting Dr. Mengele to operate on me, but but no, I mean, he was employed by Johns Hopkins. It's not like they're going to take hey, you finished the bottom of your class, come on in.
Yeah.
There's a reason he was well known before he opened his mouth.
I'm sure he's an excellent surgeon, and he definitely won't leave a scar-shaped swastika on your body when he's done. He would do a cross, right?
I'm sure he's got good spool spirit. Says Heidi in the hallways. Yeah, nice guy, but don't really trust him about his knowledge of history. So, but
start judging candidates. Right? Would we like them to operate on us? If we had a brain tumor, which one would we want to wield the knife?
It's a goddamn higher standard than would you like to have a beer with them.
It sure is.
You know what I'm saying?
It makes more sense. Hey, it tells you something about how they operate under pressure, right?
Yeah, and you at least know they got steady hands. I mean, at the very least.
Well, you would want to know. I mean, you would know afterwards. That's for sure.
You get out of surgery with Ben Carson, and they're like, okay, we're going to test you on some basic things. They hold a picture of the pyramids. What's this? Grain silo. Oh, shit, he's retarded. Fuck. He scrambled his brains.
No, it's just Ben Carson. Ben, sounds right to me. All
Ben,
right.
Can you get in here? We've got another one of your patients. This has got to stop.
Oh, Christ. See, it's just too easy with him. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, Ben. You just make it too easy sometimes.
Yeah, but don't get distracted because there's real atrocities going on, right? I mean, frankly, out of all the disgusting things that he's done in his presidency so far, I think that the planned pardoning of war criminals coming up on Memorial Day has got to be near the top of the list.
Yeah, when you're trying to pardon military personnel and the vast majority of active and former duty military people are going, the fuck are you doing?
These guys are convicted of murder.
Yeah, they're flat out war criminals. I mean, there's no prettying that up. They committed war crimes according to the Geneva Convention.
And I don't know where this comes from either, unless he feels like his support amongst the military is slipping, which, I think it's questionable how much it was there in the first place outside of the majority of military are just blindly Republican supporting.
If I had to guess, he's being told. Someone's telling him to pardon these people.
Yeah, I would imagine so too. Like somebody's got some kind of plan and they think that they're going to...
Somebody that he likes and trusts told him to do this.
Yeah.
We haven't figured that's how this guy operates by now. We're almost 3 years in. If you're on his good list, he helps you out.
Well, if it's meant to be a controversy that serves as a distraction to something bigger, then that would have to be pretty goddamn big, I would imagine, because pardoning guys who, just some of the stories that I read about these convicted war criminals over the last week, there was a young boy who was shot, I guess, and other soldiers were administering first aid to this kid, and he walks up and slits the kid's throat. There was another guy who they had to keep fucking with his sights because he was targeting women and children. And just the fucking sickest of the sick. Guys who went into the military for the excuse to murder and think that they were going to get away with it.
Some assholes who thought Full Metal Jacket was an instructional video.
Yeah, and I highly doubt that the ROE, they lowered the bar to the point where it was a free fire zone where everybody was considered a legit target. ROE being the rules of engagement.
Right.
So, it has been known to happen in certain situations, but usually those are situations where you're going into a very hot area and there's not going to be a lot of civilians, if any at all. And that's... see, that's the shit that makes me sick to my stomach, because it's like coming from a family who so many people spent so much time in the military, and what did see combat and seeing the later in life result of having gone through that and the shit they go through, like people always say, well, that's what the military is for. You want to kill someone, join the military. But that's not really what the military wants. This isn't like the wild fucking West. You know what I'm saying? They want disciplined people who are going to do exactly what they're fucking told, carry out the orders as they're told.
Well,
to the letter.
Right. I would think that people in the military would be the most pissed off about this because it's giving them a bad name. Now they're associated, people are going to associate these organizations with hiring murderers.
Well, the ship's kind of already sailed.
Look, I think that ship has sailed if you have extremist views on it and think that you would have to have something wrong with you in order to sign up for the military. An extreme liberal peacenik might think that, and there's that type of radical, there's no changing their mind anyway. I'm talking about the average American who generally thinks well of their military and then opens the paper to read stories about these horrible war crimes that are going on, and that the president obviously approves of it because he's pardoning these guys.
I think there's a lot of people like me that think they are hired killers, but at the same time, you're necessary evil. You know how I like waking up every day and doing what I want? Necessary evil. But at the same time, they are. Right? They are. What are they there for? Besides defense. But in reality, you fuck with us, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, but the majority of people in the military are making a sacrifice. It's a very small minority of people that signed up for the killing part.
I also think there's a lot of people who get, especially when you're young, you get that the Hollywood version of war, and you think that, that somehow that if you, that's proving yourself, or, if you do kill someone in combat, then you're doing it for the right reasons and stuff. And then you
the romantic side of it.
Exactly. Wrong, very wrong to think of it as romantic, but yes, exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's romanticized. And then when you actually...
Right, my father lied about, he was 16 years old, and he lied to get into the military, and he fought, and, you feel like you're carrying on some legacy, you're, I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, it really does depend on the situation. I mean, World War II was seen as a war that needed to be fought, and you literally had guys lying about their age to get in, guys doing their best to cover up things that would get them, declared 4F in the draft to where they're undraftable, et cetera, et cetera. But even even someone like my grandfather, my dad's father, who, served in World War II and, saw all the combat that any human being should ever see in their lifetime. When when Vietnam really started ramping up, and my dad had graduated a year or two after they really started ramping up in Vietnam, he looked at my father and he goes, "I really wish you'd go to college, because I don't want to lose my firstborn son to some bullshit war." And when it became quite clear that my dad was not going to college, that's when my grandfather said, "Then do yourself and me and your entire family a favor. Don't wait to get drafted. Don't get stuck being drafted, having no say-so in what branch you go into. Go sign up for the Air Force or the Navy." And he went and signed up for the Air Force, of course, Vietnam being the clusterfuck it was, he still saw combat, but I mean, obviously not as much as if he was a rifleman. So, yeah. But I mean, he, and my dad told me flat out when the first Gulf War broke out, and I was only 13. He said, if you were of draft age and they started the draft for this bullshit war, I'd be the first one to fucking drive you to Canada. I mean, that's two veterans that said that about wars that they thought were bullshit.
Hey man, my dad served during Vietnam time. My mom was a Navy brat. When I got out of high school, it was you were working or going to college. End of list. But what about you were working or going to college? End of list.
Yeah. I think the only way they'd get their hands on my kid is possible alien invasion.
Like Starship Troopers?
Well, hopefully better than that.
Service guarantees citizenship. You want to learn more? Click here.
I think the point of Starship Troopers was that it was no different than any other war on Earth.
Well, that
was mostly propaganda.
That fucking movie is very misunderstood, because that is... I was amazed when people watched it and took that as a pro-war movie. And that movie is pointing out how fascism creeps in.
If you think that's a pro-war movie, you have no sense of humor.
Oh yeah, that's satire.
You're funny as broken if you think that is a pro-war movie.
Yeah,
but having had members of my family in the military, they'll tell you flat out. They're all dead now, but if they were alive and you could get them to talk about it, it's not the movies is the movies. Television is television. It's cleaned up. When you kill a man, it's cleaned up and sanitized for our sakes. And, the few times my dad talked to me about it, that shit stuck with him the rest of his life. I mean, it's something that I don't know if he ever made peace with, and for someone like my dad, who had, the reputation in our family of being badass, don't give a shit, for him to actually sit down, and when I was talking to him about joining the military, he goes, "Look, I'm gonna give it to you straight up, no chaser. Rough, rugged, and raw is how you're gonna get it. It's peacetime essentially right now. But if a war breaks out, this is the shit that you're gonna see, and this is the shit you're gonna deal with. Now, are you put together enough to deal with it? because there's no calling time out and saying I quit in the middle of the shit. You do that and you'll spend the rest, not the rest of your life, but you'll spend a good chunk of your life in a military prison somewhere. And to me, that's the type of person you want in the military over the hired killer mentality. You want to kill for a living, join the fucking CIA or some shit. I don't know. Sociopaths are useful in society. We've had this discussion a few times on the show.
Oh, well, yeah, the ones they can control, they go into the CIA. They go into the Secret Service and shit.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I liked Daniel Craig as James Bond, because he stripped away all the cheesiness of Roger Moore and the slickness of Sean Connery and Timothy Dalton, and basically was like, oh, to do what James Bond does, he's a fucking sociopath. He is just a bad motherfucker you don't want to meet in an alley coming the other way, pissed off at you. Mm-hmm. That's not that's not something to aspire to be. I guess that's the thing.
And showed that he was it wasn't just a sociopath about killing. If James Bond was a real person and never killed anyone, but just still acted like James Bond, you'd still have to diagnose him as a sociopath.
Well, yeah, because in Casino Royale, I think he doesn't he sleep with some guy's wife to get information. The guy finds out, kills his wife, and his attitude's like, oh well.
Yeah,
got the information I needed. Answered right. It's like, God damn.
And I didn't have to clean up afterward either. Like, they took care of it for me.
Yeah, she slept in the wet spot, and then her husband come home and made the wet spot even wetter. So yeah, it's not my problem. But I mean, when you talk about war crimes, I mean, there are things like, refusing to give prisoners of war, water, food on a, whatever. And yeah, those things
are abuse, torture.
Those, well, I don't want to go down the, like torture, because that's to me, I've never seen the point of torture, because, it's basically been, I know it's from a movie, but it basically sums it up, Reservoir Dogs, when he's, when they capture the cop, and Fast Eddie comes in, he goes, what the fuck are you doing? You beat this fucker long enough, he'll tell you he started the Chicago fucking fire. It doesn't make it fucking so, And, so I kind of fall on there's other ways to get a person to talk besides flat out, 24 Jack Bauer torture shit. But
that's what I'm saying. These kind of gray area cases have to exist out there. And maybe that's among the people that he's looking to pardon, and they're just not getting those stories aren't getting into the news because they're not flashy like the murderers. But just the fact alone that these seemingly blatant murderers are amongst these people to be pardoned, it seems like an intentional move. And I don't understand what the end game of that would be, though. Other than they really believe that they're going to get support from the military.
That's, forgive me for being this cynical. I think Trump and maybe people around him who are giving him advice are dumb enough to think if they do this, that's somehow going to win the support of the military. And let's not bullshit ourselves. There is a percentage of people in the military that go, yeah, that's right. Sure. That hey, we protect you, and fuck you if you question my means about how I protect you. Shut up and enjoy the freedom that fucking I put my ass on the line for. Okay? You're still free to go drink your fucking lattes and read your People magazine and go on not giving a fuck. There's people who have that attitude. I've met them. They're pretty intense people, and they're probably people you don't want in everyday life. So maybe the military is a better place for them. But there's a line that you can't cross. I mean, and, when we're talking about war crimes that involve murder and shit like that, that is cold-blooded shit most of the time. That is, they've already surrendered. It's not like a police officer where they go, I was in danger. I felt scared for my life. No, these are situations. I mean, I know you guys don't seek out gore, but I've seen the video through various sources from back in the day. But the was it the Chechnyan soldier that got captured, and he was completely helpless on the ground, and they come over and they basically sawed his head off with a a K-bar knife.
Ooh.
I mean, what would you call that? That's cold-blooded murder.
Right.
You know, that man had no way to defend himself. That's no different than what fucking ISIS does, you know? And I know that people will go, fuck you, you've never been in that situation, how can you judge? But if we become exactly what we're trying to fucking put an end to, then what the fuck is the point? What are we doing here?
Who won?
You know, let's just all fucking hold hands and jump off the cliff and get it fucking over with. Maybe Mother Nature will scrub us from the fucking earth and start over, and the next fucking evolution in nature will get it right. Because I don't want to fucking live in a world that's like that. I mean, that it's not just a hypocrisy. It's the fact that how can you look yourself in the mirror and say I'm doing the right thing? And what's even more scary is how many times has shit like that happened? Guys not been caught, and they bury it down, and it manifests itself in some fucking weird way 20, 30 years later down the line. You know, whether it be.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to believe that what these guys got charged on wasn't their first offense.
No.
I think in most cases you go, off book like this and you're reprimanded, and then they see if they can control you and make you useful still. And if you prove to be uncontrollable by, blatantly offending in this way again, that's when
you don't get.
That's when they throw you in jail.
You probably don't get the designation of war criminal right off the bat.
Right. It's not a first offense type of charge.
Yeah, it's like any police officer will tell you, just because this is the first time we caught you driving drunk, we're pretty damn sure this isn't the first time you drove drunk.
It's like I've said with all those airline videos. They don't just walk up to you and drag you out of your seat. It escalates. It's not initially like, hey, you're a war criminal. No, there's a pattern of behavior, and now if we're calling you a war criminal, we are out of options for you. I'm going, all right, dude, or you are unhinged. You get stamped now.
The irony in this a little. I don't know if it's ironic, but I'm pretty sure some people tend to think
Alanis Morissette has gaped out the definition so bad that it doesn't even matter.
Gaped out. Thanks. Now I'm just picturing her holding Irony's asshole open after some dude pulls out of it.
Get in it.
Look, you can see her lungs. But well, no, I think a lot of people think that the more trained you are, Marine Recon, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, probably the more kill crazy you are. And it's usually, in my personal experience and from what I've seen, it's the exact opposite. Usually the higher, the more training and the more extensive training those guys get, the more they take it serious and the more professional they are. And they hold the people around them to just as high of a standard as they hold themselves. Because in the end, they don't want no Vietnam bullshit going on. They don't want no one fucking collecting ears and shit. This is not 1970.
And the fucked up dudes like Squishface from what was that movie?
Jarhead.
Yeah, Jarhead. Right? Those guys don't go up the ranks.
Well, I mean, I can tell you,
they can't follow basic orders.
The military did their best to try to clear out those type of lifers after Vietnam, and basically hit the reset button on what's expected from lifers in the military.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you can bullshit well enough, you can slip through the cracks. But I mean, I would say that especially these days, I mean, if you've never tried to join the military, you have no idea the extensive amount of bullshit you go through. They hand you a packet of paperwork, and it's a background check back to like, we need one of your neighbors from when you were 5 years old. We need their info. And if you try to get anything above, working in the motor pool, some shit like that, the more dangerous your job is, the more they fucking investigate you. I mean, they do psych evaluations just to get in. I mean, I don't even think all police. I mean, I don't want to say most, but I don't think all police.
I would guess most. I would guess most don't. Yeah.
You know, so
I have nothing to back that up, but I feel you.
You know, I imagine if you're trying to work in a high crime area, they would want to psych test you. But here's the thing: it's not like those jobs where people are rushing to police in those areas. So maybe they take who they can, and they worry about the consequences later. Military, not so much. I mean, that was one of the things that was brought up about the whole transgenders in the military. You know, not that I agree with what this, I cannot remember his name, but he's a general. Not that I agree with his stance on transgenders in the military necessarily.
Was it Flynn?
No. But he brought up a very good point. He said, you are not entitled to serve in the military. We turn people away for thousands of reasons. Bad eyesight, bad teeth, too tall, too short, flat feet, you know, too fat, too skinny. He just went down a list. He goes, it's not a job at fucking McDonald's. Can you work a register? Can you count out change? Can you follow basic instructions? You're in, stupid. That's not how it works. Now, you know, at one point when we were shoving kids into the meat grinder, Vietnam, Korea, yeah, you know, that's what the draft was for. And believe me, I've heard horror stories about, you know, them pushing people through back in the day. Nowadays, no. And
well, yeah, it's only getting increasingly so because you have more technology that you're expected to work with.
Exactly. The stereotype of the dumb jock going into military and somehow rising to, like, you know, the rank of a 4-star general is pretty much a fucking joke.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure a lot of the getting rid of the draft was political pressure, public pressure of, you know, people. Eventually it gets to, you know, politicians' kids, and they're like, you're not taking my kid anymore. So I think the other side of it, the advantage for the military is that they can they need to have a more efficient machine in order to be effective. Military is not about sheer numbers anymore. It's about efficiency.
Absolutely.
And so you have no use for any idiot off the street.
I mean, I'll tell you from firsthand experience, in 1994, when we were not at war, had no, like, you know, impending war looming over us, I walked into a Marine recruiter's office and sat down and talked to him. And then he said, okay, come back on Saturday. And me and about 25, maybe 30 other guys came back, and a few women came back. And, you know, he got us in formation, and he, you know, explained basic formation to us. And then he basically stood up there and said, there's a reason it's called the few, the proud, the Marines. We're looking for a few good men. And unfortunately, all of you ain't that. So you just better prepare yourself for that fact. This is a weeding out process, and I will weed you out. And I was like, damn. You know what I'm saying? That, because I was raised with this idea that, you know, you just walk in and go, can I sign up? What
right. I want to shoot a towel head, and they're like, hoorah, son.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's your hat.
Here's your cutting cap. Here's your rifle for your fucking dick skinners. Let's keep it simple. You got your boots on. You got your rifle. You can march into combat. Go. You know, that's just not how it works, man. But
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, everyone! Vinny the Frog here, down at Aquazone in the Sport Island campus in Blanchardstown. Come and enjoy tropical wild water fun. Aquazone is open daily this summer, just minutes from Junction 6 on the M50. Book now at aquazone.ie.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
Our business needs vans, lots of vans, and Europcar meets our day-to-day needs all across the country, providing our company with the ideal selection of small, medium or large vans and trucks, and even bespoke commercial vehicles delivered directly to our premises.
From our 22 nationwide locations, Europcar supplies Irish businesses with an unrivaled range of vans, 4x4 pickups, 4-seater commercial SUVs and double cab tippers. With 9,000 vehicles in our fleet, there's no demand we can't fulfill. Europcar, moving your way.
Sometimes you've just got to get some quality me time. Like right now, when you get away for a few hours to Kildare Village, because we've got hundreds of new arrivals, including new boutiques like Sandro and Maj. Escape to Kildare Village and get front row ready for a new season with a new look and a new smile on your face. A little me time goes a long way at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
I think TV and movies have lied to me, Rich.
Yes. Just like porn has lied to me. I've delivered enough pizza. I've never shown up and had 4 hot naked lesbians who are just now all of a sudden into me.
My wife asked me that. She's like, yeah, you deliver pizza. And I'm like, nope. Everything you've seen in porno is a fucking years of doing. So, yeah.
I've had twice women show up at the door, once in a 2-piece bikini, and she was wearing that bikini, and the other time in like a nightie, and I was like, okay, I don't even care if I get a tip.
Yeah. That's the other example I'll give her. It said, yeah, there was one time there was a woman getting ready, obviously for her job at the strip club. That's it.
And believe me, I've had many more men come to the door in their underwear.
Yeah,
than women.
Put that away. I didn't order extra sausage. You did. Here's your pizza.
Yeah, you know that,
sir.
That's one of those when they open the door, all of a sudden it's like locker room etiquette comes in. Your head snaps up, and you don't look at anything below the neck, and you're like, "Here you go. I need the money."
Yeah,
I'm not even counting that shit. Just stuff it in my pocket and peace, dude.
They're wearing nothing but a ratty robe that they long ago lost the belt to, and so they're trying to hold it closed with one hand and like, "Oh, hold on, I got a tip for you." Like, no, that's fine. Just let me get out of here.
Oh, the worst one was there was this guy who was probably he was a regular, and he was probably honestly about 550, 600 pounds, and he was a shut-in. And his robe, he should have bought a new one about 200 pounds ago. So it was not shutting, and he never wore anything under it. And I never saw his dick because he was 550, 600 pounds, but
that guy isn't caring. He's, look at it! Give me the pizza!
He tipped well. He was a nice guy, but it was like...
He had the Peter Griffin defense. Like, you don't know if I'm wearing underwear or not.
Look at it.
Look at it.
Every time we get new drivers, we'd have to put, okay, you're taking this to so-and-so's house.
How are you with full frontal male nudity?
Yeah, exactly. It was like waiting, you know. And it was funny because depending on the manager working, if we had a female driver, some managers just didn't give a fuck. You want equality? Go out there and deliver to the fat naked man, bitch.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd say.
Other guys were like, no, we can't have her. One of you insiders got to take it. Can't have her delivering it. It's like,
why not? Yeah. Welcome to the world. Here, look at it. Fat naked man.
I wouldn't send a woman over there.
Well, I never did, so it never fell on me. But I mean, one of the manager's cousins got hired in for the summer, and she delivered to him. That manager, her cousin, wasn't there. One of the I don't give a fuck managers was there, and she came back and she was like, "Fuck all of you." That was disgusting. And I was like,
welcome.
I was like, yeah.
Is that like your initiation?
You wanted to work here.
It's still, you know what? It's still not as bad as what fucking fraternities put you through.
Right.
You know, I'd rather look at a fat naked guy than do an elephant walk any day. So I'll take that. But, oh, Jesus.
Well, okay, so...
War criminals?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Coming to the door, that fat naked should be a war crime.
Right?
It's a crime against humanity. I know what I look like naked. I don't even look in the mirror when I'm naked, okay? Get the fuck out of here.
But maybe this is just all a distraction to keep us from paying attention to any of the financial info that we're likely to see from Trump in the near future. I don't know if you guys have been following any of this, but we've had the ongoing battle from Congress subpoenaing his tax records, which, you know, it was for the last 2 years. Oh, I'm under audit right now. I can't release them. And the IRS is like, we don't know what you're talking about. Not only are we not auditing you, that's not even a rule.
Yeah, I was going to say, according to Drew from the Drew and Mike podcast, he's constantly being audited and he's constantly talking about it in his finances on the show. So, you know, I don't know there.
So then, you know, they get the actual subpoena to get the tax records from the IRS, and Mnuchin refuses to hand it over. And then a memo actually pops up that was released by the IRS prior to Mnuchin refusing to release Trump's tax records. That says that the, what do they call the head of the IRS? The chief of some sort or something like that.
Mr.
Basically, right. Basically, that person has no say in it either way. They have no control over it. He shouldn't even be speaking on whether they're going to hand over the tax records. And they've been fighting in the courts too, and not successfully. So unless they actually manage to get this all the way to the Supreme Court to keep his tax records secret, we may see them very soon.
I have the same response to both sides. What does it matter to either of you? It's information that is already on file with the IRS. If there was any wrongdoing, it already would have been exposed. Like that is my retort to both sides.
Well, but an IRS investigates on, well, sometimes randomly, and other times on very specific information based on how a person files. The IRS is not going to catch somebody that's, you know, necessarily laundering money. Not saying that Trump has, but, you know, that's a crime that people do that involves cheating on their taxes as well. I mean, if you file your taxes properly, they're not going to catch that because they're not looking at your tax return in the bigger picture of, like, maybe that person's under investigation for dealings with a foreign government or some shady companies. So it does make that taking that information out of the IRS and putting it in the aspect of other investigations that have already happened, that might happen in the future, that will make a difference,
I guess. To me, this is more like, this is more political theater. We're doing something. Mueller didn't go how we want, so we'll go back to the tax returns.
Mm-hmm. But if it was a nothing burger, as Kellyanne likes to say, then why would Trump be willing to fight it so hard?
I would be on board with that line of thinking if we didn't just say that for a year and a half with the Mueller investigation.
What do you mean?
That same question. If there was nothing here, why does Trump care so much? We just said it for a year and a half with Mueller, which turned out to be a big pile of nothing. So now we're saying the same question with this situation. If we didn't just say that for a year and a half, I would be on board with that line of thinking.
I don't know how you can call the Mueller investigation a big pile of nothing.
Is he going to be impeached? Did they find wrongdoing? Did they find the collusion?
They did indeed, and didn't charge him because Mueller didn't see it as his job to charge a sitting president.
Mueller said he didn't have enough proof. He's like, I think there's something there, but we don't have enough proof. Wasn't that what he said?
No.
As far as thing, he said, I think there was a suspicion, but we can't prove it.
I thought he pulled a Pontius Pilate and passed the buck.
He did pass the buck. He said that here's all the evidence that I've collected for, dealing with Russians, collusion, obstruction of an ongoing investigation.
Okay, so what did he find?
It's all in the Mueller report, man. Read it.
What did he find?
If you really wanted to know, then fucking read it.
What did he find?
I don't have the list in front of me. You want me to Google it right now?
What did he find?
Wasn't there? Wait a minute. Okay, but collusion? No, he didn't find any hardcore evidence. But wasn't there 10 incidences that he said could be interpreted as could be legally interpreted as obstruction of justice? For whatever reason, that number 10 and there being like some legal gray area, him basically being wishy-washy about it comes to mind. And so if that's the case, that would go along with him passing the buck, going, well, I don't really have enough, and it's not my place, but if someone wants to look into this, there it is.
It's publicly available. All the private information has been redacted. It's not like it's being hidden under lock and key.
See, this is why I said I think whoever the Democrats send out there as the people that are going to be the tip of the spear to go after prosecuting Trump and impeachment, they have to be ready that this is the fight of their political lives, and if it doesn't go the right way, it could be their career. So they got to keep their fucking heavy hitters who they're hoping to fucking put up against Trump in 2020 out of this situation. And it seems like they must feel this way too, because they're treating it like a fucking political hot potato. I don't want that. You take it. No, you take it. I mean,
just to clarify, are you talking just generally or specifically on the idea of impeachment or specifically on taxes?
In general, about the whole investigation. Now, the taxes...
About the investigation in general, okay.
The taxes are a different part. It's not part of the Mueller investigation.
No.
So that's not what I'm referring. I'm talking about the Mueller investigation. Because, yeah, I mean, there are still Democrats, hammering on that bell going, we got something here, let's do it. I don't think any of them are going to make a very legit run at a presidency in 2020. And maybe I've watched too much Game of Thrones, maybe I've watched too much House of Cards, but I don't think that's an accident. Like, there are acceptable losses in the Democratic Party, and we're going to send someone who's expendable after Trump. And if you get him on the shit, then your political stock rises in our party. If you get shot down, then you go to the bottom and we just act like you don't exist.
Well, because impeachment is a game of chess. Like, there is going to be a winner and a loser. And if it's not the president, then it's going to be the people that led the charge. And those, that's a basic chess strategy right there, is lead with your pawns.
Essentially that's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, and supposedly there was a meeting with the Democrats that Nancy Pelosi was part of, where a lot of them were trying to get her to come around to the idea of impeachment. And she's not willing to talk about it as something that she's wanting to go forward with. And, I think, Rich, you're exactly right on why she isn't. I mean, I don't think it's because she doesn't know whether Trump is deserving of impeachment or not. It's whether the risk is big enough for her to take.
If you fail, your career is over.
And for somebody like Pelosi, she is probably at the top of her career. She is not going to run for president. She's not going to go any higher than this. So she has everything to lose in this case. But if you really want to make a real effort at impeaching the president, you better have your whole party in line when it comes time to pull the trigger. So,
I mean, from just a pure strategy point of view, it seems like the best strategy the Democrats could do is take someone who's older, who's nearing the end of their political career, and take someone who is is coming up but not rising like a bullet. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Put them together and go, here's your shot, folks. It's sink or swim.
But you still have to.
And if they start gaining traction, the Democrats will throw their weight behind them.
Right.
If they start losing ground, they're going to flee the ship like rats off a sinking ship. Because that's just politics in this country. That's just politics, period.
Mm-hmm. But until you know that you have that support, you don't have anything, right? Because it's back to my chess analogy. If you want to lead with your pawn, certainly, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to play your queen ever. And as a matter of fact, if you start the game out saying, I'm just to let you know, I'm not going to move my queen, well, then you just gave an advantage to them, and they know it, and they're going to use that to their advantage.
Well,
if you're not going to play one of your most powerful and flexible players on the board.
Well, not only
doesn't mean that as soon as you clear a path, that queen goes out and starts tearing shit up. Because if you lose her, then you're losing part of your advantage.
Well,
so Pelosi is the queen in this case.
To stick with the chess analogy, not only are pawns the most expendable on the board, but they're also the ones that you check for soft areas in their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's strict. I mean, it's
lure them out.
Yeah, I mean, this is all very cynical on my part, but I mean, politics is cynical. I mean, that's just the state of affairs in the world right now, and it probably has been since the first person decided they needed power over a group of people.
Right, but we're not talking about politics as usual. It seems like the politics of the last couple of years is all building up to this, and it may well build up to impeachment hearings. But to look at impeachment separately, that's a break glass in case of emergency type of situation. It's everything is broken down, and this is we feel is our last option. So it's kind of hard to talk about impeachment in the case of the breakdown of polite politics in America, because it is in and of itself that thing.
Well, I mean, all that aside, let me ask you a question, Aaron. Like, what do you? I mean, if you had to put a number on it, what do you think the chance of him being impeached actually is?
Well, I think if you asked me this question last week, I would say it would be in the low 30s, maybe 25 even % chance of him actually getting impeached. I think that the pressure has built considerably over the last week, and while the public is still, at least according to recent polls, I think it was closer to 55% of the general public, voting public, said that they did not want to see him impeached. So there's not a majority of people out there that would support it. But I would say that the chances are probably higher than 50, closer to 60% of him actually being impeached before leaving office.
Well, I mean, that's a fair, honest answer. I mean, obviously the percentages are going to change with what's going on politically around him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't a static number. So yeah, I mean, that's an honest answer. That's all I can ask
and the
for.
pressure is, and in order to accomplish that, you have to keep the pressure up on all sides. So, will his taxes or his financial dealings in recent history, open up any new investigations or show any new crimes? Maybe not. Maybe it does nothing. But it helps keep the pressure on him, certainly. I mean, obviously he's feeling the pressure because he's willing to fight tooth and nail to keep everyone from seeing this. And, if all it does is just tarnish the man a little bit, even though you think that he can't be tarnished anymore, he does have pride. And that's one of the few things that he prides himself on, is knowing how to handle money.
I think this is squarely coming from a place of they're asking to see him, and he's going, no, simply because they're asking to see him. I think that is probably most of his motivation on this. We want to see him. No, why? Because you fucking asked me for him. I'm not showing you. I really, 3 years of this guy being president, I really think that's where
so your theory is that he has nothing to hide in his financial dealings, and he's just doing it to be stubborn, to own the libs.
It's mostly obstinance. I didn't say it was all obstinance. I said that's a good portion. Keep in mind, this is the same guy where Obama made fun of him, and he went, "Well, I'm taking your job." All right, this is that same person.
If there has to be something criminal in there. There's something that he doesn't want people to see. If it was just your standard tax dodging that we've already seen, when we saw the taxes released from the 90s, from the 80s to 90s, then there'd be nothing worth fighting all the way to the Supreme Court over. There has to be something else in there that he doesn't want people to see.
I mean, is that crux to the situation? Like, there has to be something criminal? Is that really where this is all coming from? Like, again, we can't believe we elected this guy. So there's got to be something in his past that we got to find.
See, I'm with you a little bit, Chris. I do think that pettiness is playing a role. I just don't think it's playing as big of a role as you think it is. I mean, it is a factor in the situation because he's proven to be king of the petty land. That's not even up for debate. The man cannot shrug off any slight towards him, whether it be real or imagined. And I'm sure he sees it as a personal insult for people to go, well, let us see your taxes. And he's like, fuck you. Just to be an obstinate fuck. But I also think, he's probably kind of worried because there's probably some shit that don't add up. And when numbers don't start adding up at the IRS, they start digging a lot more. And I mean, if there's political pressure because his shit's out in the open, and for whatever reason the IRS has been fucking slacking on their job when it comes to him, then the pressure to go after him whole hog is going to be ramped up.
Or it could be we could all be overthinking it. We might just find out he's not as rich as he says he is.
That's part of it. But see, to me, that almost falls in with the petty part. Like he's scared of the truth coming out.
There's no downside to this, though, right? That's what I'm saying by you have to keep the pressure up on all sides. This is part of it. Maybe it's just going to hurt his pride because he's not as rich as he wants everyone to believe. But if you've got to take your enemy down by a lot of little wounds instead of dropping one big bomb on him, well, you got to get the job done how you get it done. And anything that hurts his credibility is helpful to your cause.
Yeah, because it does remind me of when the Patriot Act was getting passed and people were like, whoa. You want the right to spy on me without probable cause in a search warrant? Well, if you have nothing to hide, what's the problem here? I don't understand. Why don't they just apply that to him? If you've got nothing to hide in those taxes, why don't you just release him?
You find out he's just a paltry millionaire. He lost his B like homeboy from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
He never repaid his dad the small loan of $1 million. Well, I mean, who knows? Here's the problem. And yeah, we're probably overthinking it a bit because who knows what's going on in this man's head. I mean, he's proven to be just fucking almost damn near all id. So, maybe he's not even thinking this deeply. He's just like, he's a businessman. He's probably used to having people around him where he turns to and he goes to, what should I do? What's your suggestion? You're my expert. I hired for this.
Those people are going, whatever you do, don't let them see your fucking tax returns because I'm the fucking guy that prepared them for you.
Exactly.
And I'm going to be the fucking fall guy if this all comes out.
Yeah. Guess what, Donnie? I don't give a fuck how much you put on my commissary. I'm not doing time for you.
I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, exactly. These guys are probably in their 50s and 60s and have never had a prostate exam. They don't want to go to prison.
Beyond the Congress's fight to see Trump's recent tax returns, there was also they got financial records from two different big banks that he works with or has worked with in the past. And New York just passed a law actually that says that that it's legal because the Trump filed his taxes in New York, right? Because that's where he lived. So the state of New York has his tax records, and there's no law in place to give any other part of the government access to those tax records as it stands. Until New York passed a law recently saying that if requested by Congress or I can't remember, I think there were three organizations, like Congress and two other organizations in the government. I can't remember what they were, but basically saying that if they request it, then it's legal for them to hand over anyone's tax returns.
That's just kind of rather targeted legislation, doesn't it? Like kind of aimed at one guy.
Well, look, you can enact laws because of one action. You can't do it to govern one person. But if your law governs everyone fairly, but just happens to be incited by one incident, there's nothing wrong with that.
Wrap it however you want it. I'd like to know
wrap it however you want it. Like
I'd like to know the life cycle of this law, like when it was written, when it was put to vote, all that fun stuff.
Well, look, this law became law like any other law does. A problem arises, and the government realizes they actually have no way to control this behavior. There's nothing in their current laws that allow them to punish this person or restrict their behavior. So they create laws in order to allow them to do that. And you don't know what laws you need to make until you run into these problems.
Yeah, and let's not bullshit ourselves. The government has made laws to stop one person from doing a certain thing before. Looking at you, Jack Kevorkian. I mean, come on now.
Right. But the law didn't say Jack Kevorkian can't administer suicide drugs to people. The law says that no doctor can.
If Engler had his way, it has said that. But yes, you're right. They have to. Yes, of course.
So they created a law that was based predominantly on one person's actions, but not that he was the only person doing that. He was just the most famous person that was flagrantly doing it in order to, bring attention to what he was doing.
Got a band named after him. Shit.
Yeah, so they made a law to stop him from doing that and to stop anyone else from doing that in the future.
I get it. It's
like at some point in the past, a man walked his pig into the public square and started fucking it, and the police came to take him away. And when they put him in front of the judge, they was like, "There's no law that says I can't fuck animals in public," and they're like, "Well, he's right. I guess we got to let him go." But goddamn, you better believe that we're writing a law today that says you can't fuck animals in the public square. So when this guy does it again, we can throw him in jail. That's how laws are created.
I hope it's worth the time and resources that were spent on it. I hope it yields the fruit they want it to yield.
I think it will yield fruit for generations to come, because shit like this not only possibly limits the power of Trump and could even potentially lead to his impeachment, but it'll also make other people that come after Trump, who think that they can take advantage of the office of the presidency for their own personal gain, to think twice about doing it and really consider whether they think they're going to get away with anything.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now, starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
There's no need to describe in detail every inch of the new Range Rover Evoque. With its unmistakable coupe-like silhouette, you'll recognize that quiet refinement when you see it. And with a new mild hybrid electric engine and intuitive technology, you have a car that handles superbly, both on-road and off. So if you're looking for a compact SUV that takes city driving above and beyond, look no further. New Range Rover Evoque from €42,845. Book your test drive today at Conlon's Land Rover Nace. Delivery and related charges apply.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now, starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Well, I mean, we do have to. I mean, we don't have to do shit, but I mean, it seems like we probably should start going, okay, how did we end up with Trump? And how do we do our best to where we don't end up in this situation again as a country? Because believe it or not, there's quite a few Trump acolytes out there in the political world. I mean, that just say the most outlandish bullshit that you think.
Right.
Like the governor of Kentucky, teachers went on strike. This was his comment about it. I guarantee you somewhere in Kentucky today, a child was sexually assaulted that was left at home because teachers are on strike. What the fuck? That is such a Trump statement.
What?
Yeah.
What? That's quite the bouncing ball there.
I think my brain broke. Can you run that by me again?
Okay, so some teachers in Kentucky took part in a statewide strike.
Right.
And Kentucky's Republican governor was asked about it, and he said, and I'm quoting directly, "I guarantee you that somewhere in Kentucky today, a child was sexually assaulted that was left at home because there was nobody there to watch them. I guarantee you somewhere today, a child was physically harmed or ingested poison because they were home alone because a single parent didn't have enough money to take care of them." That is a direct quote. And that sounds like something that would come out of fucking Trump's mouth. And this is acceptable now for a governor of a fucking state to say.
That's why we have schools, is to keep the kids from being abused by their parents.
Strike.
Why are you sending your kid to school? So they get an education, get a better job? No, so they don't get fucked.
And it's
what's going on at your house?
Some kid,
I know, right?
Some kid gets molested at home, and it's on the teachers for going on strike.
So, first question to this gentleman.
What the fuck happened in his house when he had
there
snow
a
days?
curfew on the molestation? So if they go to school, if they get home after 3, they're not going to get fucked.
You know, little Jimmy.
That they would get fucked at if they didn't go to school because they were on strike.
Little Jimmy, I was going to beat them 12-year-old cheeks, but it's after 3, so you get a reprieve. Hope there's a snow day tomorrow. See you tomorrow. You know?
Remember, if you're ever home between 8 and 3,
that ass is mine.
Oh, looks like we got a snow day coming up.
Oh, Jimmy, guess what?
Here's the Vaseline. Get prepared for me. Prepare thy anus. But I mean, seriously though, that's the I can't imagine. Like, I know dumb shit was said before Trump, but this is the Kentucky governor is a Trump wannabe. Like, he has patterned ever since Trump rose to get the nomination for president from the GOP. He has patterned himself after Trump to the point where even other Republicans in Kentucky are like, "What's with this asshole?" You know what I'm saying? So, like, there has to be.
That's a feat in Kentucky, by the way.
No, right? I got family there. I gotta speak carefully. But
if other Republicans are going, "What the fuck's up this guy's ass?"
We know what was up his ass when he missed a day of school, but
yeah.
But just to backtrack a little bit, I feel like I really want to make this point because I feel like the battle for Trump's taxes is more important than the investigation into Trump's current dealings or possible impeachment hearings. Because, like, we have an emoluments clause, right? It says that a president is not supposed to personally enrich themselves by using the power of the office of the presidency. Now, why would we have that in there if it wasn't expected that we would have some sort of oversight of the president's finances so that we would know whether he was personally enriching himself off the office of the presidency? Why include that language in there in the first place if you didn't intend to have anything to actually back it up with? So I feel like transparent financial records from anyone looking to obtain an office that high should be standard. It's been standard politics, not in law, but just in common practice in recent history. And I think that Trump has just proven to us that we need to put that into the law.
I'd like to go for even further and define personally enriching, because it seems most presidents leave the office millionaires. I mean, I get...
Most presidents leave the office millionaires?
Yes. Like
they leave the office of the presidency richer than when they started.
Yes.
Is that okay? But is that because
I don't know where you're getting that from?
Is that because they have $30,000 speaking engagements lined up for the next 2 years after they get out of office?
They might have jobs and speaking engagements lined up after they leave the presidency that would make them millionaires. I have no doubt.
Well, okay, wait a minute.
But actually, but most presidents leave the presidency richer. I don't have any numbers to look at, so I can't tell you if that's true or not.
Well,
but I've never heard that.
It's that time of the podcast, boys and girls. I got to put on my tinfoil hat. Are we talking about like they leave with income on paper richer, or are we talking about, the money that, misappropriated war chest funds and re-election funds that goes in their pocket that, there's a wink and a nod that, we all understand this is how the game's played. They leave with that much money in their pocket richer. I mean, because one is a blatant, breaking the law, and the other is, well, that's just what we do in politics. Let's be honest here. So, you can't, if it's not on the books and you can't catch them and prosecute them for it, you got to remember, what's the famous quote about court? It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. If you can't prove it, then as far as the law is concerned, what are you doing here? You're wasting everybody's time. So maybe in that case they do leave more wealthy, but
since 1929, when Herbert took office, presidents have generally been wealthier when they have left office since when they took it. I believe what I've heard is Clinton was worth $10 million when he left office. I can do the math. They get $500,000 a year. But again, 8 times $500,000 would be $4 million. So, like I said, I would be interested in expanding the language of personally enriching themselves.
Yeah, but it's not like he got a fucking shoe deal from Nike or something. He's not LeBron James. I mean, I'm pretty sure that when he left,
you got to deal with Sandsbelt slacks. You don't know.
Well, I'm just thinking, doesn't every president, when they leave office, basically write their memoirs or their autobiography? I'm pretty sure they get, maybe they can't accept the payment until the minute they leave office, but that's sitting there. Is that on the books? Is that part of what's going towards, that number? Well, and once again, the speaking engagements they have lined up. I mean, I don't know. Politicians are fucking corrupt and money hungry. Shocking. I don't know. What? This is above my pay grade. Whatever.
Yeah, Bill Clinton right now is worth $75 million.
Yeah, because he's actually good with money. He proved that during his presidency.
He just ain't good about where he puts his dick.
Well, again, the brain surgeon thing, right? What do I care?
No, I know. I'm just saying,
I'm paying him to run a country.
From what I hear, Jimi Hendrix was the musician and guitar player he was, yet he could barely drive a car. One doesn't affect the other, Right. I got you.
Jumpy's worth 39. Barack is worth 40. These guys, they're pulling down $500,000 a year.
That was their worth when they left office.
That's what they're worth right now in 2019.
Well, that makes sense. Especially with W, how long has he been out of office?
Well, I'm trying to follow where you're going with this, because we're talking about Trump possibly doing illegal things and enriching himself with the office of the presidency. So you're saying that he's not doing anything different than anybody else is doing?
Just saying there's some enriching going on somewhere.
All right. So
with everybody.
Seems like you should be on my side on this then. It's not just Trump. We have to fix this bigger problem.
This whole stuff.
Isn't that what you said?
What started with me is I want to expand the language of personally enriching.
That's what he said.
Because how is someone who's been making $500,000?
Yeah, that's what I know. That's what he said. But we just had a half-hour conversation about how Chris thinks that the whole investigation into Trump's taxes is a waste of time.
Yeah, because in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to change anything.
In the grand scheme of things, it could change everything. It could prevent people from abusing the office of the presidency. And you citing that Obama and Clinton enriched themselves off the presidency only strengthens that case.
Through W as well.
Sure. So Trump is just the straw that broke the camel's back then. Either way, we got to establish rules for transparency and financial records for people who run for office.
I'm for that.
Otherwise, how would we know? We have no control over whether they enrich themselves off their office or not.
I think it looks rather lucrative. Why would they put a stop to it? I mean, if I'm in the system.
Yeah, I know it is kind of fucked up. We're asking politicians who line their pockets this way to pass laws that are going to make it harder for them to line their pockets. Meaning, in my mind, I'm thinking the only way they're going to even start to even talk about passing those laws is if they've worked out a different grift that's ahead of the curve. And they're like, oh yeah, the old one, we can't do that no more, but we got this new one. It's even better.
Yeah, we found a new way to clean up the money.
I mean, I know it's not a healthy outlook on politics, but I can't help it. I mean, if the temptation's there, how many people are going to just walk that righteous path? I mean, if you got a choice between making a couple $100,000 the easy way, and there's like almost no chance of getting popped for it, who's not going to take that? Especially if everyone else around you is doing it. It's almost like it's almost like Serpico. You know, if you're not a corrupt cop, they're looking at you like, why ain't you taking the money? What's wrong with you? All of a sudden, they don't trust you. Well, I thought you're one of us. If I'm going to take it, you got to take it. You know, that type of attitude. So I don't know how you fix that.
And then if we get this full transparency, I hope everybody's prepared to be looked at.
By the government, we are. We file yearly with the government.
No, I'm talking about the people in the government. I'm saying I hope everyone's prepared to be looked at for pushing hard for this. I hope I hope you're prepared for the magnifying glass to be on you.
Well, I mean, that's
the catch-22 of the situation.
That's kind of like, you know, make sure your fucking house is clean before you go bitching about how other people's houses look. You know, I'm pretty sure I would hope that if they're smart enough to get elected, I don't know what that really means these days anymore, but I would hope that if they're intelligent enough to get elected, that they're intelligent enough to do some house cleaning on their own before they start calling for deep dives into other people's dirty laundry. But who the fuck knows, man? I mean, is this a can of worms that's going to be opened anytime soon? Honestly, I mean, how many people?
Election year. Maybe.
It seems to me if the Democrats don't win in 2020, that's when the gloves come off. That's when it's, you know, nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. That's when it's like we don't care. Scorched earth policy. I mean, especially since I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say that the current climate of, it seems like certain states are taking a very hard turn to the right on certain policies and laws is because Trump's in office, or it's because they feel, okay, he's stacked the deck, or he's not stacked the deck, excuse me. He's cleared the road for us. Now we can go down this road and make an attempt to do things that we wanted to do that before we'd have been stonewalled right from the get-go, even with a president like Bush. You know, I mean, it all depends. How bad do the Democrats want him out? And from what I hear from the people on NPR, the people on Bill Maher, the people that do the most talking about getting Trump out of office, they've got a fucking hard-on from hell for him. They want him out. And if 2020 they don't win, it seems like there's going to be a certain element of the Democratic Party that's just going to go, fuck it. I don't care who we fucking lay waste to. If at the end of it, he's out of office, it's worth it.
I don't know where you're going with this, though. Like, what is a Democratic scorched earth policy look like?
Exactly what Chris is talking about. We don't care if it cost us some of our fucking sacred cows in the Democratic Party because their house is just as filthy as his house. We're going to go after him because, like you said, you can't make a law specifically. We're going after Trump, so we're going to make this law. So it's going to apply to everybody. Right. And if that means they have to sacrifice some of their own people in their own party, but it means that they have a better shot at getting him out, whether it be through impeachment or criminal charges being brought up against them. Yeah, I think there's people in the Democratic Party that are more than willing to do that.
Well, you could say sacrifice, or you could say weed out the criminals in your own party, which is a positive thing.
No, absolutely. But I mean, going back to maybe I'm sticking with the analogy of chess too much. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just thinking of it like that. It's political chess moves. Okay, well, if we have to lose this person, but we get the person that we're really after, that's an acceptable loss, you know. And on top of that, yes, you're absolutely right. They could take the moral high road and be like, see, we even did one of our own because he was dirty or she was dirty. So it's not a partisan thing. I mean, they could try to spin it like that. And I'm not sure the source of the poll, so forgive me, but the last I heard, pretty much the two that are that have the most name recognition are, and I don't know if that's a good thing necessarily, just name recognition alone.
It's the only thing right now.
Yeah. is Biden and Sanders.
Yeah.
So
it was what the Quinnipiac, the one with the Q, the one that always favors Trump. Biden would beat right now.
Yeah, because Biden actually took some steam out of Bernie's campaign when he joined the race.
Beto's dead in the water, man. That guy had momentum and just kind of stopped. He had to relaunch his campaign.
He relaunched it?
Yes. He did a reboot. Retconned his campaign. Well, I think it was a Vice article, so take it for what you will. But it said he made a punk mixtape for Vice, and it was.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he just hired Andrew Garfield to run in his stead. the rebooted Beto.
But yeah, I was like, wow, that's an unabashed attempt to appeal to, hi, fellow young people.
Yeah.
I listen to punk.
Hello, fellow kids.
To his credit, it wasn't bullshit like, Green Day and The Offspring. It was like, he had some, he was a musician. He actually has some music snob in him. So it was some shit that I was like, oh, okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, any politician that brings up Jawbox, for fuck's sake, I'm like, okay, when's the last time you heard a politician mention Jawbox?
Listen, I just want a president that can make me a good mixtape. That's my standard.
Oh, God.
That's how you know you can trust someone.
John Cusack for president.
There you go.
You know what? Fuck it. I'd vote for Cusack. Hey, come on, man.
Vote for him.
I mean, yeah, if it was a race between him and Trump, yeah.
He hung out with Hunter S. Thompson. We're in for a very interesting ride. Let's buy that ticket. I in fact, I think my not my profile pic, but my the larger pic on Facebook for a while was a picture of him, Thompson, and Johnny Depp in a convertible driving with a blow-up doll.
Sounds like an awesome weekend.
And I was like, right, that's awesome. I don't know the story behind this pic, but I don't need to. It just tells the whole story right there. Oh, man.
It narrates itself.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Our business needs vans, lots of vans, and Europcar meets our day-to-day needs all across the country, providing our company with the ideal selection of small, medium, or large vans and trucks, and even bespoke commercial vehicles delivered directly to our premises.
From our 22 nationwide locations, Europcar supplies Irish businesses with an unrivaled range of vans, 4x4 pickups, 4-seater commercial SUVs, and double cab tippers. With 9,000 vehicles in our fleet, there's no demand we can't fulfill. Europcar, moving your way.
Our business needs vans, lots of vans, and Europcar meets our day-to-day needs all across the country, providing our company with the ideal selection of small, medium, or large vans and trucks, and even bespoke commercial vehicles delivered directly to our premises.
From our 22 nationwide locations, Europcar supplies Irish businesses with an unrivaled range of vans, 4x4 pickups, 4-seater commercial SUVs, and double cab tippers. With 9,000 vehicles in our fleet, there's no demand we can't fulfill. Europcar, moving your way.
Sometimes you've just got to get some quality me time. Like right now, when you get away for a few hours to Kildare Village, because we've got hundreds of new arrivals, including new boutiques like Sandro and Maj. Escape to Kildare Village and get front row ready for a new season with a new look and a new smile on your face. A little me time goes a long way at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Rich, did you have a subject you wanted to get into that was not on the political map?
Well, I was going to say, are we done with the political and serious?
We're done with politics. Yeah, let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Okay. Well, as apparently everyone who knows, they either watched it or they are the new vegans and want to tell you that they don't watch Game of Thrones and how proud they are of themselves for that. Everyone knows it's over with.
Oh, so I'm in a group Yay!
Well, I don't know. You're not like violently shoving it in everyone's face. You know what I'm saying?
Younger me would though. Younger me absolutely would have. Younger me would be. Middle-aged me still kind of hanging my hat. I'm like, I've never seen a second of this.
I know, I get it, but I don't. Maybe it's because I'm like old and irrelevant now. But people that define themselves by what they don't like versus what they do like just annoy the fuck out of me. Like seriously, just let people enjoy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it hurt you?
Yeah, I guess, dude. Yeah, my motivation is like I'm not watching it because everyone watches it. It's like I just don't fucking care. Like I have no desire.
Right. Well, you don't watch any of that shit. You don't watch fantasy shows.
Yeah, exactly. And,
I'm not actively avoiding. Yeah, I'm not being all hipster about it. Like everyone watches it, so I'm not watching it. I'm not being that guy. And I don't care.
I was absolutely with you until halfway through the second season, when I just out of pure boredom and curiosity sat down. I had an HBO Go account. And I watched the first episode of the first season, was like, oh, this is all right. And then,
Claire, you had someone's login.
2 days, well, I didn't say I paid for it, motherfucker. You ain't got to point this shit out. Damn. I don't know if the statute of limitations is up on that, even if that is a crime. Fucking thanks, asshole. You better put money on my commissary if I go to jail for this shit.
Oh, that's man, that is so commonplace. Everyone is using somebody's login for something.
Oh, believe me, I know. Mine got passed around like a fucking party joint, dude. And
like you're using it like her mom's got cable and shit. Like that's how do you think we got HBO here? We're using like her mom's. Like everyone's got someone's login. Trust me.
When I had a legit HBO Now or Go or whatever it was called at the time account, and I gave the login to one person, and then it said too many people were watching it. And I looked up where it was being watched. I was like, who the fuck is watching it in Utah? Like, how this shit has got around more than like the fucking Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. What the fuck, you know? But anyway,
it could also just be VPNs.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. But anyways, first of all, obviously the last season split a bunch of people. They weren't, it seems to be 50-50. People are happy. Half of them are happy, half of them are like, no, this was garbage, it was bullshit. Personally, I just think that a lot of it is when someone loves something, especially a television show, they just don't want it to end. And on top of that, there's no way to end any...
Oh, whoops, sorry.
I thought you were about to play. Where you bought that shirt? I'm like, how does that fit in with what I'm saying? Because that was Charlie Murphy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Half a syllable, and I could name that voice in one note, Bob. But yeah, it's just people don't want shows to end. I remember The Sopranos. People were pissed off. And then Entourage really sucked the last couple seasons. Dexter sucked the last couple seasons. Even Breaking Bad, I knew people that weren't happy with the ending of Breaking Bad. And I'm like, how the fuck else was that show supposed to end?
Right.
So I just I took that with a grain of salt. But
well, yeah, but the big reason for people not liking this last season has been placed squarely on the writers. And the issue with that, though, is that, there's two ways to look at this. Some of these people are wrong in blaming the writers for what they don't like about the show, and others are right. Now, if they're pointing out things that the characters did in the show, I think most of that, with some exceptions of weird character behavior, most of it played out exactly how it should have, in my opinion. And because they didn't like the turn that their character took at the end of the show and at that final season, they blame the writers for that. And if you're really paying attention, I think most of the characters acted completely naturally. Now, where the writers failed, in my opinion, is how they plotted that all out. And it was very much like by the time they got to those last two seasons, they realized that in order to get the characters to their final place in that last episode, they have to rush things along. And they have to pave over a lot of the character building that they are known for. And it's kind of like the same thing that the complaints that people had in the last season. Over all of a sudden, everything's like, within, a half hour's distance of each other. Where in prior seasons, we'd see them have to travel over long distances. All of a sudden, they have to get from one place to another that's miles and miles away, and they're there immediately.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head when we talked about it like a week or two ago. You said it's really two separate shows at this point. And I talked to my brother about this, and he's read all the books, and he's like, I told him what you said, and he's like, I agree with that. When they had the source material, the books to work off of, that was essentially them rephrasing George R.R. Martin's work for television.
Yeah,
the writers D&D, and when they ran out of source material, that's when it became another show. I feel like it was the first 4 seasons and bits of the 5th season, because I think about half of the 5th season was based on still on the books. Especially the first 4 seasons. That's some of the best television I've seen on TV ever. As far as character development, the story they were trying to tell, the fact that there was no clear-cut good guys, bad guys, all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like it presented the world the way the world is. Good people do fucked up shit, and fucked up people do good shit. And every once in a while, you get a truly virtuous person or a truly horrible person.
But it was a big cast, expertly handled, with each character given their own nuance.
Exactly. And so I feel like it went from that to when they ran out of source material, it almost became soap opera-esque, meaning we know how we've established what these characters' personalities are, but now we're moving towards the end. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have them do what we need them to do to get to the end that we've decided upon.
Right. So the characters' actions stop being character motivated and start being plot motivated.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, Tyrion has to be dumber than he has in prior seasons in order for them to pull off the gymnastics that they want to do at the end. And, make him actually end up in King's Landing trying to save his brother.
And I mean, I understand that from a certain point because...
No, the pure story of the brothers is perfect. It's the plot mechanics of getting him in that position.
I'm talking about when anyone got around Daenerys, it seems like, especially men, it seems like, the little brain took over.
Right.
And even if it wasn't they wanted to fuck her, they still fell in love with her, which I mean, to a certain extent. And so I can buy it because, as men, we can all admit we've gotten dizzy over some pussy before. You know what I'm saying?
But his stupidity was willingness to trust his sister again.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the way they were trying to frame it is it was more of, look, your family, whether or not I like you or not, or even if I love you or not, I don't want to see you roasted by a fucking dragon. Please step down. Save your life. Save the life of your unborn child. Because if there's one thing that he's even said it in the series, there's one thing you can give Cersei, she loved her children.
Yeah.
That was her one redeeming quality. Of all the horrible shit she pulled, now, yeah, she would manipulate her children, and she would do things that would, hurt her children, not because she was intending to hurt them, but because she thought she was doing what was best for the family line and everything. But she genuinely loved her children, and that was her, like I said, her one redeeming quality. And I think that's what he was seeing in her, and he was like, please, look, you may hate me, I may hate you, but this is not going to end well for you. How can it?
But it's one thing to know what the writers were intending, and it's another thing for you to be actually brought along for that journey. And there was a lot of times in these last 2 seasons where they didn't hold us by the hand and take us through these character turns, and instead figured that the bigger plot would make it all come together.
Yeah, and I do
and thereby not leaning on their greatest strengths in past seasons.
And I do have to say this: a lot of the criticism of plot and why is this character acting this way kind of reminds me of a lot of the criticism that's been leveled at the new Star Wars movies. Mm-hmm. And, whereas, and I think if you look at, Rey's character, she's a Mary Sue. Game of Thrones had its own version of a Mary Sue, which is the guy version, which is a Gary Stu, which is Euron Greyjoy. His plot armor was so thick. I mean, he became whatever they needed him to do, he could do. Awesome. And if he needed to fail, he failed with no explanation. Yep. I mean, the guy's never fired that huge crossbow, the Scorpion. First 3 times he does it, he takes out a dragon. Then he can't hit the broadside of the barn all of a sudden for the rest of the series. Right. His ship gets blown up from under him. Everybody on his ship dies. He washes up on the beach right next to Jaime Lannister. Let's fight. It's like, that is the definition of that type of character. It's a character that's written strictly to move plot forward. There is no character development. And in the books, he wasn't that. My brother explained to me in the books, he's like, he is absolutely reprehensible in the books, but he's straight gangster in the books. He goes, in the show, he was a fucking joke. He was clown shoes. He goes, so if you run into anyone who's like, oh, he's my favorite character, tell him to read the books. Because in the books, it's completely different. And I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough. But also, I did find this out. This is HBO's cash cow. And part of the criticism that, and you brought it up, was that people were saying it felt rushed. Every season, except for season 7 and 8, have been 10 episodes. 7 was 8 episodes. Season 8 was 6 episodes. Yeah. That was
longer episodes too, given.
Yeah. But that was the showrunner's choice. That was D&D's choice.
Yeah.
Because HBO went to him and said, we'll give you $500 million a fucking season to do. If you want to do 13 episodes for the last 2 seasons, we'll do it. And they're like,
if you want to do 13 seasons of this, we'll let you.
And George R.R. Martin said that. He said when at the premiere of the last episode, they asked him, they said, so how do you feel about it? And he goes, I feel like it's kind of ending prematurely. I feel like they could have probably done another 2, maybe 3 seasons. And he goes, I gave them the outline. And he goes, yes, they didn't stick to it 100%. I didn't expect them to. But there was a lot left on the table. And then it turns out they're like, you find out that, Disney just backed up the Brinks truck and opened it up and said, hey, guys, fuck Rian Johnson's trilogy. You're the new hotness. We want you to do the next Star Wars trilogy. Right. Here's a boatload of money to do it. So they were like, we got this Disney money to go get. So we're going to end this as quick as possible. I don't know if that was the exact conversation.
Right. So season 8 was like their last day at work at the old job. They're just fucking off.
Season 7, they gave their 2 weeks notice. Season 8, they were just like, what the fuck ever. They're hanging out by the water cooler all day. They're drinking the last of the coffee and not making shit. They're like, I ain't fucking making no more coffee. My days making coffee are over. I work for Disney. I'm rich, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
3-hour lunches that stop at the titty bar.
But I mean, certain things like, okay, people got mad because in the penultimate episode, Daenerys, she goes mad and she burns King's Landing. See, if you just saw that episode and you did not see the last episode, I could see why you take it that way. But when Jon tried to talk her out of doing what she was saying she was going to do one last time, she very calmly and rationally explained, this is the way it has to be if you want peace. Yeah. Essentially, she looked at him and said, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs.
And his response to that, ultimately, not directly, but it was to challenge her authority to the throne.
Well, I mean, he killed her. By the way, spoilers if you haven't finished the series, you're fucked.
What I'm saying is, if you wonder, to see that as an excessive act in episode 5 when she tortures the city, you didn't pay attention to the previous episode at all, because not only did you see her state once again what she's willing to do to achieve her status that she believes she was born to be, that directly after that it comes out that Jon Snow, not only does he and Daenerys know, but now basically everybody knows.
Yeah, it's like Varys said, that if 2 people know it's a secret, if 8 people know it's information.
Right.
That he's the rightful heir to the throne. and could usurp her that way, which was, and see, but
right.
I don't want it.
It wasn't when he confessed to her. That was one thing. She said that if he tells his sisters, then this whole thing is over, and that's exactly what he did.
I know.
So I'm not saying that she did that because she was spited by him because Jon Snow went against her. I think she did that because now she feels that she has to double down even more so in her authority, because it's not going to be just a given that I can torch this city or I can take over this city and sit on the throne and everyone's going to bend to my will. There's a distinct possibility that, you know, people could start backing Jon Snow and I could lose that authority. So how do I prevent that from happening? By doing exactly what I said I was going to do. You know, if it takes torching a city, then that's what it takes.
So fucking be it, yeah. Well, and also
so Daenerys, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say a lot of people were upset and complaining about the writing and pointing out Daenerys as an aspect of that poor writing, and I'm saying you're blind because she's had the most character development, even all the way through season 7 and 8. They took you all the way through that journey. The
one criticism that I will give of the writers that they just dropped the ball on, and I think if you I don't know if you ever watched after the show the little, you know, like 5-minute, you know, behind the episode things, when they were like, yeah, well, you know, Dany just kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet being out there. And it's like, wait a minute, why would she forget one of the most important things that she was told in the episode beforehand and was reminded of in that very episode? Like, why would she forget that? Why would all her military people around her forget that? Maybe she would forget that, but
that's not. But that's just only a plot hole in the way that all they had to do was put, you know, a couple lines of dialogue between two characters explaining why they were there, even though they knew about it and how they got surprised. I mean, they just didn't bother to do that.
Well, I also found out that these are the two guys that wrote Wolverine X-Men Origins, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is starting to make sense now. Okay. They're the ones that took Deadpool and sewed his mouth shut. Right. Like the merc with a mouth, they took his mouth away. Okay, all right. This is starting to make a little bit more sense. Okay, you know, but still, look, plot holes are. It is damn near impossible to write something over 8 seasons that you spent a decade on and not have a plot hole here or there. I'm willing to forgive that. And I guess that's why I'm not as harsh on that as a lot of other people are. I mean, there's bigger, like, wait, what the fuck, head-scratching moments like, okay, so Grey Worm brings Tyrion in front of the council. The council goes, okay, well, we're going to select our new king. They select Bran. All right, cool, whatever. And then Grey Worm's like, yeah, but what about Jon Snow? Well, we're going to send him north to the Night's Watch. That's basically a life sentence. He's like, okay. And then he gathers up his nutless bunch and he goes, okay, we're going to set sail later. At that point, why didn't Bran just turn and look at Jon Snow and be like, they're gone, you can stay. They're not coming, you know what I'm saying? They're not coming back, you know. But I mean, it did set it up for this, which is, and I think a lot of people have missed this. Game of Thrones was never about the White Walkers. It was never about, the battle between humanity and the White Walkers. That was an element in the show. The point of the show was who controls the political power at the end of the show. That's why it's called a Game of Thrones. And you either play the game or you die. I mean, they said it flat out in the first fucking season. And what happened at the end of the season? Bran's the king of the 6 kingdoms. Stannis is the king in the north, or the queen in the north. Arya is the queen of unfounded land. I mean, she's going to go find some land and, you know, do her badassery out there. And Jon's king beyond the wall. The Starks own Westeros and are setting out to find other lands to basically set their stake at. They won. That's it. They won. Period. End of story. And I think people were wanting to see, you know, a lot of people, why wasn't Tyrion on the throne? That wouldn't make sense. Why wasn't Jon Snow on the throne? He's never wanted to be king. He is one of the few honorable people in that show who does his best to stick to his word. He even sacrificed a woman he loved to keep his fucking word to the Night's Watch. What made you think at the last second he's going to go back on it?
Right.
That's not in his character. And if he did, then you would have a legitimate gripe of, what the fuck is he doing? That's not in his character.
Well, and also, the Starks were the only logical family to give this power to, because the whole show's been about trying to keep the Starks down, right? What do? Kill the dad, kill the mom, kill fucking aunts and uncles and cousins and everybody. Like, everybody's trying to grind the Starks under their heel, and they end up dominant at the end. That's the story of the Game of Thrones. That is the story. You put Daenerys on the throne. You put a Lannister on the throne. Where's your story? Your story is now people do fucked up shit and sometimes get away with it.
I mean, I did think that there was some subtext to the fact that even after Daenerys found out that Jon Snow is the rightful heir to the throne, she kept saying, "This is mine. This is mine. My throne. I'm the rightful ruler." And it's like, you're not. And I think the subtext is that, it's that old saying, power corrupts. And the closer she got to being on the throne, the more she became obsessed with it. And that became
power corrupts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the closer she got to actually sitting on the throne, the more and more tunnel vision she got. And that's a cautionary tale that's as old as time, And I mean, that's...
Well, yeah, but Jon Snow had the bloodline, but she had the bloodline and the prophecy. So that trumps Jon Snow in her mind.
Well, that was the other thing. There was 3 or 4 prophecies, that Cersei would be killed by her younger sibling. She wasn't. That Jon Snow would kill the Night King. He didn't.
Right.
Arya never killed a green-eyed person. Cersei had green eyes. I remember that was the big thing, before the last episode. Is that what's going to happen? Because she killed the Night King with blue eyes, and she killed, Walter Frey, the guy who orchestrated the Red Wedding, and he had brown eyes. So that was okay, so these are the last 3 people on her list that she can actually still, that she still wants to kill and is going to go after. So, I mean, I don't, but once again, that's how the show ended. There's still 2 or 3 more books. If you really want to, if you are a Song of Ice and Fire purist, then just look at the show as, a nice piece of pop fluff. You're still got your books that are canon in your mind.
Yeah.
Wait to see how the person who actually created this world finishes it. If he does. I mean, he's an old man and he doesn't look to be in the best of health. I hope he starts writing faster. But, I mean, I get the gripes that people have, and I think a lot of them have some validity to them. But then there's other ones that I'm just really, come on, guys. I was listening to NPR and they had a half-hour special on it, and this woman called up and she's she was damn near in tears. And first of all, I'm okay, I understand, being emotionally invested, but come on now. And she's I am so mad that these 2 men ruined 2 feminist icons. And I'm feminist? Who is she going to name? And she goes, they've ruined Daenerys and Cersei. And I'm okay, I'll give you Daenerys.
Wow.
Cersei is a feminist icon? That's a feminist icon? Feminism is cancer then. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that bitch killed everybody to keep power. I mean, like I said, the only redeeming quality she had is she loved her children. That's it. That is not a feminist icon. If she'd have said Brienne, Sansa, of all the women you could choose from, those are the 2 that you picked. I'm all right. I obviously we were watching different shows. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's what I don't get. I mean, it's not like this is Breaking Bad, where your lead character is doing horrible things, and if the writing's good enough, then you're right along there with them, going, "I hope he finds a way out of this." Another perfect example of that actually is Barry. Barry's a great show that has an anti-hero lead. But if you're thinking that Daenerys and Cersei are your anti-hero leads, I don't know what show you're watching. That's not what's going on in this show. That's not what the show's about.
Well, I kind of feel like it's one of those situations where, rightfully so, a lot of women that are fans of sci-fi fantasy will go, look, there's not a lot of well-written, fleshed-out characters in the realm of sci-fi fantasy that are women. That is a valid point. But I will add this bit to it. In most sci-fi fantasy, it's the sci-fi fantasy that's driving the story. There's not a whole lot of like well-developed characters in a lot of sci-fi fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't go in there expecting like some sort of Downton Abbey type character study from a fucking show with magic and dragons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you did get it to a certain extent when it was still going off the source material. But for lightning to strike twice to where Martin could write that as the source material and then the showrunners could pick up and match him, let alone surpass what he had come up with. I mean, that's kind of, you're really asking for a lot. And I mean, I think that a lot of it goes back to just people. I wanted the show to end this way. It didn't. I'm pissed off. This show sucks. And I mean, I get that, but that's also like, the Dark Tower series ended in a way that I had spent 20 years reading the series. And when I got done, my ex-wife put it perfectly. She goes, you finished the book, you walked out of the bedroom, you came into the living room, you sat down, and that book broke you. You were just like, that can't be how it fucking ends. That can't be fucking how it ends. She's like, I could read it all over your face. And then I had to stop and go, Stephen King even said it himself a few times over this 8-book series. Stop worrying about the end and enjoy the fucking journey. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. They're letting their expectations that weren't fulfilled color the entire series now. Oh, this is all bullshit. Well, it's, of course, if you want to get into like a philosophical debate, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit entertainment. It's pop culture. But I know that's not what they're trying to say. You're just upset that Tyrion didn't end up on the throne or Dany didn't end up on the throne. And you're letting that color your entire experience with this show. And to me, that's not how you enjoy something. And if it is, you're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment in life. I mean,
I'm not even sure how, if you put Daenerys on the throne, how do you end the show? Like, what, Daenerys flies in with the dragon, everyone flees in terror. She sits on the throne, and then they have a medal ceremony, like the end of Star Wars.
And poor Sam plays the role of Chewbacca. He doesn't get shit. He's just standing there in his maester robes like, the fuck did I get? Well, at least I got to fuck a wildling. I got some pussy. That's more than Chewbacca guy. But yeah, I mean, and I talked to my brother, and I honestly thought during the Battle of Winterfell when they were fighting the White Walkers, I honestly thought for like about a good 5-minute period of that show, I was like, oh, they're going to go balls to the walls and kill off half the cast right here. Like, they're going to kill Jaime. They're going to kill Brienne. They're going to kill the Hound. They're going to kill, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to do what no one expects them to do. They're going to subvert expectations, not by, we're just going to do the opposite of what you expect just because, but they're going to like, okay, boom. Yeah, they're dead. Now the people in King's Landing have to worry about the White Walkers. Now we shift to that. And when they didn't, I was like, okay, they're going for that. As Tyrion said, no one's happy, so I guess it's a good compromise.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the most meta moment besides when they bring out the book, A Song of Ice and Fire, and put it in front of Tyrion. And he said, where am I at? Oh, you're not in it. Oh, well, shit. That was, but I mean, I think that was the most meta moment. That was basically the writers saying, look,
there's no way we can please everyone on this.
Exactly. You're just going to
have to. And
if
that's the show we were making, nobody would watch it.
And to their credit, they had an interview with IGN, and they said, what are you going to do when the last show is airing? And they said, well, we've already plotted that out. I'm going, one of them's going over to the other's house. They're getting a couple bottles of wine. They're turning off all their phones. They're turning off all their social media, all their electronics, and they're not answering anybody for at least 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to let the world deal with it and just stay in our own little drunken bubble for a day or two because we don't want to hear it. You know, so they knew that they couldn't fucking please everybody, which is exactly like you said. It's that's not the show. I mean, they said it multiple times in the show. If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. That line was put in there for a reason, because that line was put in there by Martin himself. That is not that is not the showrunner's line. That is his line. Jesus Christ, Sean Bean, everyone thought was going to be the hero of the series. They killed him off 9 episodes in. Poor Sean Bean can't be in anything for a full season or a whole movie without dying.
Was that who played Ned?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. I mean, they told you in the first season what this show is going to be like.
Yeah, and when people go, so what is this show like? I'm like, you ever seen The Wire? They're like, yeah, I love it. I'm like, this is The Wire in a fantasy world. It's a huge cast of characters. There's a bunch of moving parts, and anybody could die at any moment. Well, that sounds great. Why don't you watch it? I hate dragons and magic. Then the show is not for you, I guess. Yeah. That's okay.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
At DBS, you can study in Dublin City Centre or online. Choose from over 100 industry-led programmes. Programmes designed to fit your life now and help you create your future. Realise your ambitions. Apply for a full or part-time course today at dbs.ie.
Sometimes you've just got to get some quality me time. Like right now, when you get away for a few hours to Kildare Village, because we've got hundreds of new arrivals, including new boutiques like Sandro and Maj. Escape to Kildare Village and get front row ready for a new season with a new look and a new smile on your face. A little me time goes a long way at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Which kind of brings me to a point that I told you guys I wanted to make. I wanted to draw a line between two things that seem unrelated, but to me really aren't. Someone called this show the show of the 2010s. Like I guess every decade has what critics would call a decade-defining show. You know, I guess arguably Sopranos would be the 2000s.
Right.
A lot of critics are saying this is the one for the 2010s.
This shows that everyone watches.
Yeah, and knows about it, even if they don't watch it. Like, right. They've heard about it. They're like the Beatles. Even if you've never heard a Beatles song, unless you're one of my coworkers from years ago, you've at least heard of the Beatles. But this was really like the last show that the internet hadn't become what it is now. It still had a little bit of innocence to it. And it how do I put this? Like, the internet drove the show. Like, the memes, people live tweeting while watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, now it's become cliche to do it. The minute Endgame comes out, there's people that they're making memes as they're watching the movie on their phone in the fucking theater. This was like the last show that we're probably going to have that we had that, like, I don't know, childlike love affair with the internet still. Like, it hadn't turned into the venomous pit that we all fucking, dip our toes into as much. And,
right. Well, and also not ever, like, I don't think there's going to be necessarily a show that replaces it that everybody watches again, because there's just too much out there.
Exactly. Now everything's become compartmentalized and specialized.
Yeah.
If you watch this show, then you got your corner of the internet. And if you watch this show, you got your corner. And, there was a internet meme / people have called this cat an influencer. I want to smack them, but whatever. But then I found out how much Grumpy Cat was worth when she died. She made $64 million for her family.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
really,
Yes.
We talked about this on the Weedsman, but $64 million.
No, it was a British, so whatever that is in...
They could have paid for 2 Mueller investigations.
And had Grumpy Cat read the fucking the results. You're not going to like how this ends, just like Game of Thrones. Mueller investigation, worst investigation ever. But no, and they kind of pointed out that like the how Grumpy Cat came to be, which was someone posted, the owners posted a video and a few pictures of her on Reddit and blew up, and it became this meme, and then it became calendars, and they made a fucking Grumpy Cat movie, and there's merchandise.
It was the meme everyone knew, and even if they didn't go on the internet.
And it had a long life as far as memes go.
Yeah.
Where memes now come and go. Some memes, if you don't get them out within 24 hours of an event, they lose all potency.
Yeah.
It's like if I start throwing memes out about something that happened 2 years ago, someone might go, "Oh, I remember that," and get a giggle, but it's not going to be the same. If I put it instantly out.
Did you see the final Grumpy Cat meme, Rich? It says, "In heaven now, I hate it here."
Yeah, a friend of mine posted that, and then I found one that said, it had Grumpy Cat sitting in the pet cemetery. It said, "We buried Grumpy Cat in the pet cemetery. Everybody's fucked now." But it kind of is. It's as we're nearing the end of the 2010s, and forgive me for getting a little melancholy about it. This has been a decade that I've went through some very, as the old curse goes, may you live in interesting times. This decade's been my interesting times.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it's the lost decade, because I swear to God, 2 years ago it was 2000. It just turned 2010.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it just turned 30.
But I also feel like the internet and the world, the pop culture world I knew in 2010 is, if not completely dead and gone, on life support.
Yeah.
Right now.
I was thinking about that the other day. The internet landscape between 2010 and 2020, vastly different. Not as different between 2000 and 2010, but I mean, it was like the coming of age decade for the internet as far as social media, anyways.
Yeah, definitely. We've now had a full decade plus of the dominant social media forms of social media in place, and as they said on NPR when they were talking about Grumpy Cat, I can't remember the guy who was reading the story, but he was like, we'll probably never see a meme that takes off and has the lifespan that she had as a meme.
Yeah,
and we'll probably never get. And then I was thinking about that, and then I'm like, we'll probably never see another show like Game of Thrones that just sucks everyone in to where. Even I have friends who are very much in the, I don't watch it and I'm proud that I don't watch it and you're a nerd for watching it, yet I'll post a meme like that Joe Biden meme you sent me. Just please sit down, Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
It's just fucking genius, by the way. I posted that, and my buddy Scott, who has never seen an episode, I don't think, was like, "Oh shit, that's funny as fuck. I don't even need to know the complete context. That's just funny as fuck." And I'm like, "Yes, see." So, I don't know. It's kind of
right.
Kind of,
well, for some context for Chris and maybe others who don't know, but
I'm sorry.
So in that final scene in Game of Thrones where they're trying to decide who's going to be the next king, and they have all their leaders lined up there, and everyone's kind of looking at each other like, is somebody going to stand up? And then, what's his name?
Uncle Edmund? Something like that? Basically, an uncle of the family who is the head family.
Starks.
Yeah.
So he stands up and he starts going, well, considering my, experience with leadership.
Better hurry.
Considering my experience with leadership and, my record and all this, and I'm, and eventually, like, what's her name?
Sansa.
That's Stanza.
Or yes, Sansa. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Says, Uncle, please sit down. And so then somebody, basically posted that in meme form, but with Joe Biden's head over it. And it was like, Uncle Joe, please sit down.
Sit down. And so I posted it with, someone see to Uncle Joe before he starts grabbing people and sniffing their hair. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Not a sad moment, you know what I'm saying, in pop culture, but just kind of like, it's kind of melancholy, and you look back and you go, wow, man, we kind of came in a little bit bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and we're leaving like that veteran who did one too many tours in Nam with a cigarette hanging out of our mouth and 10 o'clock shadow going, I've seen some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, also because Game of Thrones survived throughout this era where everything's transitioning over to streaming and DVR, and people are just recording shit and watching it at some point during the week. They're looking at not just Nielsen statistics for when things broadcast, but now they have like some sort of like 5-day plan with do they watch it within the first 5 days? And even through all that, this was the show where fuck no, it comes on at 9, I'm there. Something that you could live tweet and people are right there with you watching it. They did not let it sit on their DVR.
Yeah, and it is very unique because ABC last night, I think Wednesday night, we're recording this on Thursday, guys, listeners, they did a tribute to Norman Lear, and it was a live hour of television where they created All in the Family and the Jeffersons. And they were doing that, hoping that they would get that must-see appointment television audience. And judging by the lack of any talking about it I've heard, I don't think they hit their mark.
Appointment TV is dying. They need to realize
I saw one mention of it on Twitter, and that was from Rob Liefeld.
You know how we see it? Put it out on Netflix. Put it out on a streaming service. For sure, put it out to where when we consume it when we want to.
Yeah, make it available for me to watch it on my time.
That is the difference between the end of the decade and the beginning of the decade. At the beginning of the decade, I was one of the first people to cut the cord. Ooh, yeah, I know. Whatever. But it was, but it was still at the time one of the things I was concerned about. I was still watching a couple TV shows. Like, oh, how will I watch this? It's like, oh, I'll have Hulu. It'll be on the next day. And, oh, you can still go buy an antenna or you can watch it through the air if you really got to watch it live. Now, 10 years later, fuck no. Give it to me when I want to watch it. All right? I don't know. What? I got to wait till 8:30 on Thursday to watch this? Fuck you. You put it down and I will watch it. And then, you know what? And because I want it available on my time. If I want to wait a couple of weeks and then binge watch 2 or 3 of these motherfuckers, I can't. And that's appointment TV is dying.
Well, right? I mean, even
dead.
But also the thing that kept Game of Thrones appointment television was the fact that because everyone was talking about it, if you didn't watch it live, then you're going to get it spoiled for you. I mean, especially this last season, these last 6 episodes of Game of Thrones, I didn't watch it right away, but I watched it that night. And until I watched it, I didn't even bother going on Twitter.
Well, I think it was the Tuesday after the penultimate episode. I went to a local restaurant and to get something to eat. And because I was by myself, I sat at the bar, and it was during shift change. So there's 4 employees back there, and 3 of them were caught up on Game of Thrones, and 1 of them wasn't. And the 3 that were caught up started talking, and the one that wasn't goes, God damn it, hold on, let me get out of here. And went and found something else to do in another part of the restaurant. And I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while since I've seen that, about, it's not Endgame or something, a movie, something like that. It's like a television show. I think it was honestly probably Breaking Bad, maybe Sopranos.
Well, even look at
even that, there were so many people that didn't watch it at the time. I have to go back to fucking Dukes of Hazzard and A-Team. I'd go into school the next day and everybody's talking about last night's episode.
Look how long we've been doing these podcasts. When we first started doing them, you guys with things all of us we'd wait a couple weeks, right? Oh, we gotta wait a week. Oh, all right, it's been 3 weeks. We could talk about this, right? Now, no, fuck. Like with Endgame here, it's like it's been a week. Fuck you. We're talking about it. Like that. That's just it's how the culture's moving too. You know, there's you know, Rich, like you said, you haven't seen a lot of that anymore, but that's not happening anymore. You know that
if you haven't seen it in the first week, you're not a big enough fan to not be spoiled.
Yeah, now more people like, fuck you, we're talking about it. You better leave the room. Like we're all caught up. You're not. Your fault.
Yeah, and real quick, it's not just television. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of the decade, the big Martin Scorsese movie was The Wolf of Wall Street that he released earlier in the decade. Now his next movie has...
I've never seen that.
It's a really good movie, but it makes me wish Quaaludes were still around. Did I say that out loud? Shit. Okay. But his next movie has all the usual suspects. I mean, it has De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, I think Ray Liotta's in it, Harvey Keitel. That is a big budget.
Are they going to have any scenery left?
I know they're going to eat. It's going to be like Glengarry Glen Ross Part 2. It's just going to shoot a fucking scenery for the whole movie. But I mean, it is a big budget, big actors, big director movie, and it's getting released in the theater and on Netflix, if not on the same day, within a few days of each other.
I don't understand why they haven't done well, I guess someone's always got to be the first one out of the gate, right? Why is it taking so long to do something like this with a project like that? Yeah, it's happened with a million indie releases, right? 1,000 movies nobody's seen have done this. But why have we not done this with a big picture like this?
I think why they can get away with it because even though it is a Scorsese movie and his movies tend to be epic, especially I would say post Goodfellas. Like that is he definitely has a style now, and he he makes epic movies. It's not a have to see it in 3D, have to see it in IMAX movie, and so he's comfortable doing that because you could watch it on Netflix. I can watch The Departed on Netflix, or I can watch The Departed in a movie theater and still have the same experience.
Yeah, but still, you got your guys like Mike White from the projection booth here at ChristopherMedia.net, who they're film buffs, right? They got it. Part of the experience is they got to go see it in the theater, right? Like, I mean, this is the way, though. Why have we not thought this is the way? You want everyone to be talking about your shit? Do it this way. The film buffs can go still see in the movie theater. Yep. Be in everybody's homes and be on Netflix and Hulu and all that. And then on Monday, everybody's talking about your shit.
Mm-hmm. And the theater's not going to go away. I mean,
I can't believe how many fucking movies you go see.
Me?
Like, yeah, you should own stock in MJR. Like, seriously.
It's like you got your guys like here.
I'm taking my kids.
Yeah, it's
because it's a reasonable day out. You know, you get to go out and like I know movie tickets are more expensive now, but it's not that bad. You know, if you want to go out and make a day of something, rather than go hang out at the mall where your kids are asking you to buy everything, you'll end up spending more money than you did at the movies. Take them out to eat, you spend just as much as you do at the movies.
So far, one of my favorite versions of child rearing has been like it's all about killing time.
Oh, what?
Just killing time between eating. You just got to find ways to kill time. If they're kids, you got to entertain them.
Well, I mean, I guess killing time is one way to put it, but I look at it more as like I want to spend as much time with my kids as I can, and I have to kind of keep them entertained so that I can spend time with them.
I'm so glad you don't have kids, Chris, because what are you, Maximus? Are you not entertained, children? What is?
But I'm aware. I am totally aware. I should not have children, and I don't.
No, I know. And good for you. I mean, I'm just saying. It's like Jesus. Really. You got to keep them entertained. Every once in a while, throw a burger or two down their throat. That's how I raise my children.
I look at kids as the ultimate pet, so that way, no, I should not have them because I call them the ultimate pet.
Hey, honey, do I need to change your litter box? No, Dad. Okay, all right, great. Are you entertained? Yeah, the Wi-Fi is working. Okay, good. Well, and you're absolutely right. And my last thought quickly on this is, I used to be a big go to the movies guy, but I used to do it when you still had and if you're not from the Detroit metro area, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. You had the Quo Vadis, which wasn't like a chain theater; it was an independent theater. Or you had places like the Terrace, which were dollar theaters, and I would go at like the last showing of the night because I don't want to sit in a fucking theater with a bunch of fucking people talking and screaming and. You know what I'm saying? I want to. If I go to the movie, I want to watch the movie, and it just seems like the movies that I want to go see, there's no good time to go see them anymore, unless it's like 4 weeks after they've been out. And at that point, like we've covered, everything's already spoiled for you. Yeah. I know what's going to happen. But I mean, I went and saw the Guardians of the Galaxy. God, actually, that's the last movie I saw in the theater. Shit,
jeez,
that's been 5 fucking years, guys. I just realized that. That was when I started doing this podcast with you guys. Damn. Fuck, I need to go see a movie. Shit.
James Gunn's gotten fired and rehired.
Yeah. Shit. He's got 2 franchises now. He's got the new Suicide Squad reboot going for him. So, Jesus, yeah. Well, I don't know. I'll have to see what's coming out here soon and maybe go see a movie. But ultimately, maybe it's just because I'm getting older. Also, I can sit at home and watch it and enjoy it, just as much. But I got to admit, I'm a little cheap. Like, oh, hey, I'm getting in at the 5 o'clock matinee, or before 5 o'clock, I'm getting a matinee price. Then I go to the concession stand. I'm like, let me get a popcorn and Coke. Yeah, it'd be $20. Does a blowjob come with that? I mean, seriously, what the fuck? Like, I get that that's how you make your money, but Jesus Christ,
Especially too on popcorn and fountain pop. What's the markup? 2,000%.
Oh, I've worked in food service. I know the markup on fountain drinks.
Yeah,
it is. The cups cost 5 times as much as the liquid that goes in, even with the ice.
Correct.
And the cups are only like 30 cents. So do the math yourself, guys. All right. Well, any last things here?
No, I'm good.
I do want to say one thing about our network. I don't really do this very often, if at all. Todd not only is doing his Escaping the Cave podcast, but he's doing a baseball podcast. I don't know how many people that listen to this show are into sports or baseball, well, specifically baseball. But if you are, he is, no pun intended, knocking it out of the park with his baseball podcast so far.
He is knowledgeable and he is passionate. And it is a very good, it's a good listen if you're into baseball.
Yes, absolutely. To the point where I think on Sporgy, we need to retire the baseball talk unless it's like a very big story, because he covers all the nuances and the ins and outs to the point where we look like fools if we try to keep up with that.
It's called the Do Baseball Toddcast. It's on ChristopherMedia.net. Check it out. Also, he's on all the usual places: iTunes, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, all the same thing. Google Podcasts. He's on Podbean. So yeah, check it out.
And believe me, I know the listeners don't know me personally, but my co-hosts do. If I don't believe in something, I'm not gonna hype it up.
You're like Ron Swanson. The only thing I endorse are was U.S. military mustache trimmers and Morton salt.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not selling wolf tickets on this one, guys. So
yeah, check it out. It was all the rest of them on ChristopherMedia.net.
Projection Booth too. If you're into movies, it's a fucking really good podcast. Those guys do a really excellent job.
Yeah, they nerd out. And like they pretty much they take a movie and they dissect it, and it goes on as Rob St. Mary, who's one of the original hosts. He still shows up every now and then. He says it's like Fight Club. It goes on for as long as it has to.
That's how you end up with a 7-hour Conan podcast.
7 hours on Conan the Barbarian.
Three of them were just about how good the special effects of James Earl Jones turning into a snake was. No, I'm joking.
It could be. Yeah, they were definitely testing the limits of their data storage for that one.
Well, when I can break a podcast up to listen to it for an hour a day for a week straight, and I'm still listening to the same podcast, you better be good at what you're doing, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're in there with some bullshit, no one's going to listen to it. And they get mentioned as one of the best podcasts about films quite frequently by people that don't even know we exist. So let's put it that way.
Yeah. And you just check us out on Spreaker.com. All the other podcasts, too. They decided they like what we're doing. They want to help us out, grow the audience. New audience, we see you. Welcome. Old audience, thank you for hanging in there. Both of you, if you like it, tell a friend. That's how this works. We're on Twitter at UnregimentedPod. You can always email us, unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net. Check us out every Saturday, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Our business needs vans, lots of vans, and Europcar meets our day-to-day needs all across the country, providing our company with the ideal selection of small, medium or large vans and trucks, and even bespoke commercial vehicles delivered directly to our premises.
From our 22 nationwide locations, Europcar supplies Irish businesses with an unrivaled range of vans, 4x4 pickups, 4-seater commercial SUVs and double cab tippers. With 9,000 vehicles in our fleet, there's no demand we can't fulfill. Europcar, moving your way.
After a great start to the Euro 2020 qualifiers, the Republic of Ireland look to continue their 100% home record as they take on Switzerland on Thursday, September 5th at Aviva Stadium. Then on Tuesday, September 10th, we go again at Aviva for the 3 international friendly versus Bulgaria. Kick-off for both games 7:45. Show your support for the boys in green this September. Tickets on sale now starting at €20 from fai.ie/tickets. Booking fee applies.
ChristopherMedia.net.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Hot flashes, irritability, intimate dryness, even unsatisfying sex. Hi, I'm Dr. Alyssa Dweck, a board-certified OBGYN who has spent over 20 years helping women just like you safely find relief from these very natural symptoms without having to resort to hormones. To help my patients feel their best, I recommend products from Bonafide Health. Bonafide is a women's health company dedicated to providing women with non-hormonal and clinically validated products that work. Bonafide provides safe and effective solutions to manage a range of menopausal, sexual health, and PMS-related symptoms. That's why I recommend Bonafide products to my patients every day. In fact, I am also a Bonafide medical advisor. What I like most is that Bonafide products provide women real relief without compromise. Ladies, don't waste another minute feeling less than your best. Go to hellobonafide.com and use code radio39 to save 20%. That's hellobonafide.com and code radio39.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Offer valid on subscription only.
If your friends haven't told you, McDonald's Spicy Chicken McNuggets are back. The ones made with spicy tempura and aged cayenne. But before you go telling friends, make sure you get them first. Order ahead on the McDonald's app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
For a limited time at participating McDonald's.